All right. Gave our guys a little bit of time over the weekend, gave them Saturday off, came in yesterday, got a nice jump on Mississippi State. Obviously saw the game Saturday night. This weekend being our last home game, going to Little Rock for the second time. We have a lot of players from the state that this means a lot to them, especially the ordeal they've been through the last couple of years. It's a team that I think is improved over the last several games. They've begun to buy into what we're doing and more, and hopefully it's going to come through in a big way on Saturday. Injury-wise, we should be pretty clean. Will Hines, I think I don't know if he'll start, but he'll definitely play. Has looked really, really good through the two practices last week. On Wednesday and Thursday, he was cleared 100%, and then last night as well. So good to have him back with us and moving full speed ahead. So really, other than that, I'll open up for some questions. I think our guys know what's at stake. They obviously want to win an SEC football game as bad as anybody. Mississippi State's a good football team that played very, very well on Saturday night and has gotten some bad breaks, but on the same account has done some really good things. So should be a very interesting game.
I know you're always looking for an edge, a message to preach before the week to the team. What's the message this week, and where are you getting it from with the losing streak you're in?
I think the big thing going back to Sunday after our last game, after the Ole Miss game, was that again, we did some really good things. Guys battled a four-quarter game, but we have to eradicate, we have to negate and take out of our program the things that have caused us to lose. And in my opinion, offensively, there's three things. It was obviously hanging on to the football, being able to score in the red zone, and being able to stay on the field with third down. On defense, the two biggest things that I have a concern with big time is just giving up big pass plays, giving them free yardage that we have to make them earn themselves down the field, and being able to get off field on third down. Those are some concerning things. As far as just a specific message, I think when you get to this point, it's all about pride. It's about what you're willing to do, to sacrifice, to change the results of what you've been doing.
They had to play the freshman Damian Williams when I guess their other two guys were hurt. What do you expect from their quarterback-wise?
It could be anybody. Obviously, Saturday night 17 did a lot of really good things. I guess the year before, I hadn't gone back and watched that film. He'd had a lot of success against them. He just couldn't get in the ball in the red zone. And, the thing that jumped out was, as that game hung closer, he seemed to believe more and more, and the players did around him as well. Obviously, some things fell apart in the fourth quarter, but a very, very talented kid. Obviously, if 15 comes in, whatever his status is, it sounds like is up in the air, and then the 14, whoever plays are going to be good. They're going to execute. I don't really know what else to say other than whoever's back there. I don't think the plan changes all that much in the execution of what we're going to do.
You're saying this isn't everyone's a must-win, but as far as the team's emotional level, do you want them fired up? Do you want them to kind of keep things in check? Do you want them?
We've handled. I don't know if there's one game where I can say. Obviously, there was a Alabama game where they scored right away, and the first quarter ended up being a little bit lopsided. But other than that, every game we've scored first in several of our games. I don't think there's any way that I would change our approach. Last week was an early game. This week's going to be an early game. We went over just a hair earlier last week, did some things before the game, before we went in the locker room that was a little bit different. I want our guys to approach it as they have been. It's a business-like approach. It's not my approach that's worried. I was worried about sustaining the effort for four quarters.
Well, what's Prescott at number 15? I know he didn't play last week. He played pretty well up to that point. What's he showing?
You know what? He shows a really good composure. I think Dan has had a history of great quarterbacks, guys that make a difference in ball games, and you can see that position makes their offense go when he's clicking. They do a very good job around him. The other thing that I think is impressive, why even all three quarterbacks as they've gone in there, I'm tremendously impressed with their offensive line. I don't see one of the great quotes I always hear Coach Chaney say is he doesn't see any fleas, and I would say that's quite the case with their offense line in particular. They're just solid players from left to right. Play very, very aggressive. They protect their passer. They execute the run game. They play extremely hard and they strain.
You wrote a note to Dan Mullen. He said yesterday after the Nick Bell passing. Can you just kind of maybe go through why, and
I don't know. I'd seen Dan have success. I saw an assistant coach take over a program that I believe that was in his first year, if I'm not mistaken, first or second year. And I think as a coach, you just always look for people that you admire the way they do things. Yeah, I didn't know Dan at all. I would say too, when I had a sister lose the way I did, I think when you have to do something like that as a human being, you naturally have compassion for anybody that's in that role. There was a piece on it. I don't know if we were in a bye week or if it was a Friday night special, and I remember watching it, and I'm like, man, that's pretty impressive. And I just reached out to him, just sent him a note. What kind of blew me away is I saw him at the coaches convention, I guess it was back in January, and of course I was running through the lobby or whatever, and he grabbed me, his wife was with him, and he shared with me how much that meant. I thought, that was cool at that point, but I definitely wasn't trying to get a position on the staff. I know that. That's what people automatically throughout. Hopefully that just reinforces what I try to do.
What did you think of their defensive effort against Alabama the other day?
I think two things. Their kids were playing really. That's the other thing. I know that it sounds like coaching talk and all that stuff, but if you can just get kids to play hard and be aggressive. We had a developmental scrimmage on Thursday at the end of practice. I just shut it down, and anybody that really was playing were guys that were either redshirted or weren't playing a role, and we had about 4 or 5 just big time hits on defense, and again, there were guys that might be redshirt freshmen or anywhere close to playing SEC level, but there was some physicality. They were playing hard. They were juiced, and that's what I saw. The same thing on Saturday night. I saw a Mississippi State defense that they knew they were playing a very good Alabama offense, and when they had that first pick, I mean, you could just see it give life to that other side, and to give a little bit of juice when Yeldon put the ball on the ground. That gave them a little bit more juice. Even though it was at the end of a big run. That's what you need, and you just need something to bring you over the hump, and let's hope they don't continue to find their way this weekend.
I guess they got to win these last 2 to go to a bowl game. What kind of motivation do you think they'll be playing with Saturday?
Well, it's a tremendous amount of motivation. Every coach is going to have a different tactic going into every game. Ours is, last chance for us to play in Arkansas, give our chance for our seniors to go out and win in front of their families. But bowl games are great motivators. It was one of the biggest blows I took was when I was still holding out hope for every one of those last games to give those seniors a chance to go to a bowl game and experience a little bit of postseason play, and then for the good of the program to have developmental practices, all the way up to that. That's why we switched our gears and started going as much as we could last week, and we'll get today and tomorrow and Wednesday as well.
Demetrius Wilson, how's he coming along? Is he on target?
He is. He was out running very, very well, and it jumped out to me. I guess it was last Wednesday. He was in his brace and flew in front of me. I wasn't paying attention. I was coming off the field, and him and Matt Summers were working right in front of me. I think he's definitely on track. A kid that very, very unusual situation to go into what you think you're preparing for your senior year. And I will say this: if there was kind of the same card that was dealt to Kiero Small a year ago, was he expected his senior year to be that last season, and then he got an injury and was able to come back. And one of the first things I said to Demetrius, and I think I put in a note to him, was, hey, these things happen for a reason. Let's capitalize on the best of a bad situation.
You still hold to the notion that this is there's no carryover if you get a win going into next season. Are you still?
No, I'm not oblivious to the fact that I know what a win will do. It'll get you all from stop asking the question. But on the flip side of it, it's not going to change anything on what I'm doing or how we're approaching it. I was on the road last week recruiting wise, and it's just so refreshing to not only get in our state but outside of our state, and to be into a school where a coach knows who you are and what you are, and wants to give you one of their best players because he knows what you're building. That's worth its weight in gold. And to see it come out in a W, and obviously it'll help more for us to hold up against our competition in the recruiting world, because there's a lot of negative Nellies out there that in recruiting who love to remind people of your schedule and streaks and all that jazz. I've been a part of a lot of great streaks, but nothing of a negative streak as this is. So I think we're trying to, as coaches, de-emphasize the pure number of it, but you can't underestimate the effect of it.
You had a support system when you took over Wisconsin, and here it's kind of the first time taking over somewhere outside your element. Has there been someone you've looked to advice for during the course of this season?
My staff, heavily. I probably, and you could probably ask my staff this, I'm not at least I don't think I am. I'm not a dictator. I'm not a one-man show. I think when I ask questions in staff meetings, I truly mean it. I want input, want advice. One of the things I always tell my coaches is, hey, throw a note in my box. Give me some. And I get all kinds of information that way, because I think just as men, as in human nature, when someone throws an idea at you, you maybe aren't hearing it right way, you'll be defensive right away. But I love coaches that put notes in my box about things to think about, ideas. Today we'll have a staff meeting at 2, and one of my driving things is just next week's schedule. You know, although I'm on this week, I have to lay out some guidelines for next week. So some coaches have been involved in Friday night games before. Jim had a Thursday night game in the NFL, so that's just an example of trying to use your coaches to its fullest.
Can you talk about not letting any of the negativity get to you? You talk about, you know, some of the stuff we ask you, fans being negative, anybody being negative, oh, you're not going to a bowl. Can you talk about just putting all that aside, and what's your mentality with all that?
Well, I think that there's a very interesting perspective of being a coach. It's my profession. It's my livelihood. It's what I chose to do, and I love every minute of it. I could have easily stayed right where I was at and stayed comfortable as a man. I think the more you get outside of your comfort zone and then have success, the more you grow. And that's, believe me, I didn't want to be 3-7 or you know, anywhere close to that, but I didn't come here not to do that. You know, I guess if that makes sense. I just came here because now I know where we're going. I can see it. You know, I point out to my coaches today, or I guess it was on Sunday, the least penalized team in the SEC. Now, that hadn't gotten us a win yet, but when that kicks in with an offense that plays the right way and the defense that plays the right way, and then you have that component there, you're halfway home. You know, so there's just little baby steps that, and I don't blame fans, I don't blame media. You got to ask the questions. I don't. It's easy for me not to get pissed. If I get pissed, you'll know it. I mean, I doubt that I'll rarely do that to this room, just because there's no need for it. I mean, it doesn't help you in any way. But I just rather just do my business. I don't know if it's called keeping your blinders on or whatever. It really hasn't been negative to me. Now, I don't spend any time on blogs or any of that jazz. I leave that to my wife. But I think the part that I really enjoy is just the daily challenge of my job. And these seniors, our best recruiters are our seniors. I mean, now the freshmen, sophomore, going to be, but our seniors understand what's being built, and to have those guys play the way they're playing right now, and have a guy like, again, I said it before, like Julian Horton, who was down and out, now coming back strong, and Herndon, who's had every reason to probably go south, and all those guys. I haven't had one negative experience with a kid in our. Now, I'm going to have some kids leave. You know, there's going to be kids right now. Ray Buchanan, I've released him to a number of schools. Some other guys that are in the works, I just got to get a list on them. Those guys are going to leave our program just because A, they're not depth-wise where they want to be, or in a situation or being in a program that we're going to hold accountability to at the highest level in so many different ways. If they can't meet that standard, it's best for them to move on. But that's a positive, I think.
Did Buchanan come to you and say, hey, I want to?
Yeah, Ray actually came to me, I don't know if it was 2 weeks out from the season or 3 weeks out from the season, and expressed an interest, maybe a transfer at the time. And I just had him down. I've only known him 6 months or whatever. Well, at that time, it wasn't even that long. Reached out to his pops. His pops obviously is a football guy. I'd done a couple of interviews, radio interviews with his dad, and I just said, I don't think this is in your son's best interest. Let's see if he can get involved in special teams, see if he can get in a 2-deep, see where it can go. I said, then let's get to December and find out where we're at. And he's not there, and I don't blame him. He's not in our 2-deep and really not in our plans, and so we'll do. Now that's where I'm probably a little bit different than most people. I embrace the transfer opportunity. I mean, if you go back to B. Mitch, I think I shocked him, because he kind of had this plan where he was going to do it at the end of the summer, and I'm just like, well, let's talk about this. Let's help each other. When you have a transfer, it's a potentially negative situation. I learned a long time ago in life, if you can avoid a negative and turn it to a positive, you're going to be a much better person for it. So I think, working with kids so that they get the best possible transfer ever, so then their success can continue. Why put them in a bad situation? I think, if you got a kid going out the door who feels great, there's a major story going on right now in college football, right, about a kid that says he was treated a certain way and he wants to transfer. And look at all that negativity. That can so much. I think situations like that can be easily avoided if you're just honest and real with people, and don't do anything but accept the situation for what it is and work together.
How much can Brandon How much can he do in these next 2 games to really
Brandon Allen?
Yeah, Brandon Allen carry over to next season, or is when you guys come back for spring, is it just going to be a completely clean slate?
I think BA has grown in certain regards. Obviously, we got to be great with ball security. I don't think we can, just let the ball go out of our hands. That play on the wheel route with Alex in the corner of the end zone the other day, that was a big play, and I know he wished he could have that one back. But on the flip side of it, I think you got to be careful with the quarterback that you don't treat him in a way that scars him for the future. I really believe in kids developing game by game. He's healthier, again, during a bye week we gave him another day of rest, and I think that shoulder is at a point now where he's pretty much back to normal. So now let's see how he prepares. I think he's got to continue to build confidence with those receivers, but on the same side of it, they got to give him some confidence back. It's a two-way street. I think Hunter and Henry feel good. You see them talking all the time. He's going to lose a very good player that's in front of him. Travis Swanson is an elite football player. So to find our center is a big deal for a quarterback, and that's something that we got to make ourselves grow. BA will have a tremendous advantage over other guys coming in the spring. But yeah, BA can accomplish a lot in these last 2 games.
Alex has a chance to go over 1,000, which I think would just be the second freshman to do it here. But what have you thought about his year? I know Jonathan has been huge as well. What have you thought about the way he's coming?
First, Alex, I couldn't be more impressed. He's done so many good things on the field, and then I'm not kidding you. It's 1 day a week. I get a letter, an email, somebody reaches out to me about something Alex does in the community, and whether it's visit with a kid, go speak to a school, take the time with a stranger on the street. I think he's made it difficult for people with dreads in Fayetteville because 2 or 3 of my other guys have been caught, or not been caught, but stopped and said, "Hey, aren't you out of college?" just because he's got dreads, which I find very entertaining. I think it's nowhere even close to being what he can be. I stopped in his high school just to talk with his high school coach. Last week when we were on the road, and both of us just agreed the jump he can make between his first and second year. He physically is very gifted, but he hasn't been trained the right way, ate the right way, slept the right way. He's got sleeping habits that are like a nocturnal animal. It's just the way he's kind of wired. The more we can get him in rhythm, I think the better off we're going to be. I would say this, in my opinion, Jonathan Williams might be the most improved football player on our team from game 1 to game 11 that we're going into. He is taken an understanding of what we expect on certain plays, his practice habits, his composure, his ability to him and Alex have a relationship, I think, is a big deal. He's made some incredible football plays. Got a chance to meet his mom after the game at Ole Miss, and I can see why he plays for her. She's a pretty special lady, and you can see the love that he has there. And he's a neat kid, man. I'm excited to work with these guys. Where we're going to be a year from now, you want to know what gets me excited? We've lost 7 games. In my opinion, you give me I'll take anybody in those 7 games we lost. You give me another year with my guys, and those guys can have the same amount of time. We'll see where we're at, because I know where these guys can go.
What kind of influence has Austin Tate been as far as coming back?
I think very interesting for me because he's a kid in the spring I couldn't work with because he couldn't practice, and then he came in the last 2 weeks and made a tremendous impact right away in the huddle. That's always my thing. It's easy to see when kids do it on the field, but huddle, he just seemed to calm everybody. I think he even gave BA a calming presence. He gave Mitch Lavin Mitch Lavin started playing better when Austin Tate came back in the fall, and I think that's a true sign of a senior that kind of just holds everything together. I think, I don't know what opportunities are going to be in front of him when this gets done. I hope to heavens he gets an NFL shot. I know he'd love to have it. Trying to use him in every way possible. On special teams, I've tried to incorporate him in everything. Just a tremendous kid that comes from great people, and he's a true. If you can have 4 or 5 Austin Tates every year as a senior class, you're going to win a lot of games.
Elite player. I know you had developmental practices, and so what's out there at center for?
I've been actually impressed with Sharp. I think Sharp is a guy that by position, it's going to be very hard for someone not to it's going to be very hard for someone to be in front of him for that first team center spot. I do think recruiting can bring, last year we thought we'd have to bring in a couple guys to start offensive line wise, and feeling might be the exact same, losing 2 seniors that we expect, someone that we recruit to come in and play, just because we don't have a lot of bodies there. Don't have a lot of bodies that we feel can win at the SEC championship level, and at least at this point they're working hard. But it's an area of great concern for us.
Coach, I know that you had issues, or you still have issues with going down to Little Rock, but is there anything that you did like when you went down there last time?
I don't have issues. See, now Jocko's already putting words in my mouth. I bet you I have never, you can't get a recording of me saying I have issues with Little Rock. I was blown away. We went to an early morning workout, or an early morning walkthrough, and I was informed that they started rolling about 5:30 a.m., so that was very impressive. Anybody can get their groove on at that time deserves some kudos. We'll have an 11 o'clock kickoff here, so it'll be interesting to see how I don't think it'll change that much. They're very passionate about their Hogs and excited for us to get over there and play in an SEC environment, and hopefully they treat Mississippi State as good as anybody.
Anything else, Jeff?
Hey, Coach, real quick, have you used all 41 of the 42 days, like you said?
Yeah, well, we did today. Today was the last day out on the road. For us, we can't start again until December 1st. And, the recruit, you want to do a story, I know a lot of you guys follow us, the NCAA calendar that they just pushed through and made it immediately effective December 1st is in my opinion, in how many years I've been coaching, since 1993, I guess was my first year, how many years that is, has the single biggest effect on recruiting that I've ever witnessed. For instance, in recruiting, assistant coaches, by rule, have always had 6 opportunities to go visit a young man in his home. That is, if he's signing on National Signing Day. By what they did with the recruiting calendar, they took away a week, so now it's down to 5. If a kid is signing, say if a young man is going to come to school here at Arkansas midterm, classes start January 13th, I believe, which is a Monday. That's my birthday. Happy birthday. But it's dead the 4 weeks prior to that, ending on that December 14th or 15th, whatever it is. So take, for instance, if you're a kid in Texas, Florida, or Louisiana, and several other states that I can't mention, but I know those 3 for sure. If you play in a state championship game and you play on that Friday or Saturday, and then you plan on rolling in school at a midterm selection, you never get to take an official visit. If you didn't take one during the fall, which a lot of kids don't because they're so locked into being a great football team. The NCAA, I don't think when they passed that rule even took that into consideration, but it's like the single most. Now think about that. You're a high school kid that has done everything right. You're graduating early and you want to be a mid-year enrollee, and because you're on a good football team and you've done everything right, you can never take a visit. That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Now, we'll use it to our advantage. You want to talk about taking negatives to a positive. We're not in a bowl game, so we'll have every guy out on the road from Saturday afternoon. We'll all get in position, and for 14 straight days, there won't be a team in the country that can commit more manpower than we'll do. But we've got to figure out ways to take that to our advantage. But on the flip side of it, it dramatically changes the world of college football.
What's the earliest that rule could be adjusted or repealed?
It can't. For this year, now my guess is they quickly put it in. We just got the thing a month ago, the earliest could possibly be adjusted would be for the May recruiting, but not until next December's recruiting cycle. So it's.
Why would they do that?
I don't know. I think that there was probably a lot of push on. There were some problems over the last couple of years. It was like 3 days you could be out, 2 days you couldn't be in, 3 days you could be out. They went from one extreme to the other. But to take away an opportunity, I'm a big believer in you're not only recruiting that person on film, you're recruiting a person out of their home. So the advantage that I always believed we had as an assistant coach is, if I got 6 visits, I'm going to go in that school 6 times. I'm going to get to know that coach, that guidance counselor. I'm going to go see Dad. I remember I recruited a young man by the name of Ben Sobieski out of Mahtomedi, Minnesota, who was nationally recruited by everybody in the country, and we were like a 1-10 team or something like that. And I got the kid to commit to us and come to the University of Iowa, and it was because I went and saw Dad, who was a chemist and invented stuff for 3M. And Ben Sobieski's like 6'8" for each an acre, and his dad's a little 5'4" chemist who worked for 3M, and he thought it was the coolest thing in the world that you came and saw him at work, But the reason you go see him at work is he had time to do it. You get to know these people and know what makes them tick. And the NCAA, in my opinion, has eliminated that ability for whatever reason.
You think there'll be a lot of coaching outrage about it, and that'll lead to?
I don't know if it's coaching outrage as much as you just got. I'm not outraged. I just got. You have to adjust what you're doing, and it's frustrating because of the timing that it came about. But on the same side, it's the rules, so you got to play with it. You got to work with it.